Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Wednesday, and all of our guests today brought to you by, that includes Thomas Drance standing by in the Golden State. Brought to you by our title sponsor, Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. Joined now from The Athletic by Thomas Drance. How are you, sir? Are you still in California?
I'm still in California, and we'll see how long I am going to remain here. It's my right foot that I messed up, right? So it's hard to make the drive until I've recovered to a certain extent where I can at least, rely on cruise control and get home. So hoping I get back this weekend, but it'll depend on how disciplined I am about taking my ibuprofen and keeping my foot elevated and on ice.
Hold on a second here. Your foot is so bad.
Yeah.
You can't drive?
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
So what's the diagnosis? What's the ailment? What are we talking about here? Broken bones?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, it's not a fracture. I know it's not a fracture, but I don't know the ligaments or whatever. But yeah, I know it's messed up. It's very bad.
So you would have been home by now had you not got injured?
No, I would be home for next week for sure, though. I'd be leaving on Friday, but might have to delay that an extra week just to, yeah. Look, it's a severe sprain. It takes some time.
You know that we've got people watching this right now who are saying you can never complain about a Canuck, a Canuck not sucking it up, and come on, hurry up, get off the injury list.
You're not the type of guy.
I'm not that guy.
You're not the type of guy who would play hurt in the playoffs. No way.
Well, I would if I had something important in next week, but I can do everything remotely these days. So, you know what I mean? This isn't the playoffs. I'll be at the draft. I'll play hurt at the draft if I have to.
Soft.
Not,
Soft.
It's not the playoffs for the Canucks anymore, but
soft.
There are playoff games going on. Yeah,
there are, and I'll watch them.
Yeah. Hey, Thomas, it's being reported that the Canucks are moving on from Elias Lindholm. Your reaction to that?
Man, this is such a tough summer for Canucks management, and sometimes, gentlemen, there'll be a player that the Canucks are considering signing, Andrei Kuzmenko, for example, and I think it's open shut how they should proceed, and I'll come on your show and I'll tell you, right? These are all across the board hard decisions, right? And so let's unpack Lindholm specifically. Go look at the Stanley Cup finalists playing tonight. And Ryan McLeod, the Oilers' third-line center, makes $2.3 million, and Anton Lundell is on an entry-level deal, $925K cap hit, right? So it's they're not spending. Look at Dallas. Matt Duchene had $3 million, but also, their first and second-line centers were on ELCs. The New York Rangers, $2.25 million for Alexander Wenberg, acquired at the trade deadline, right? The teams don't spend $7+ million on their third-line center for a reason, right? It's a luxury item. It's hard to win if you're investing that much cap space into a player that ultimately is going to play behind Pettersson and Miller, even if he is going to log top 6 minutes. So given his age, given the fact that he only had 6 even strength goals last season, and has had multiple sort of quiet offensive seasons, even though he did bounce back in the playoffs. And I think the reality of what we can expect from his production is somewhere between the meager production of the past 2 years and what he managed with 10 points in 13 games for the Canucks, playing a huge role in the top 6. That's all reason to be buyer beware and to react to the news that Lindholm may walk away as something of a relief, something of a landmine dodged. And yet, Lindholm, when he came to Vancouver, I think they hoped that he'd punch up their offense, and that didn't quite happen, but they did level up defensively in a major way with Lindholm in the lineup. You saw the work on the penalty kill. You saw the relentless pursuit of checkers away from the puck all through the postseason. It was a huge part of what this team was able to do, locking down Nashville and locking down McDavid 5 of 7 games. His overall fit as a right-handed centerman, right? As a guy who had real penalty killing utility at a level above what Pettersson and Miller do. I mean, it was a perfect compliment for the way that Rick Tocchet wants to play and how this team is constructed. And here's where it gets scary. go look at the unrestricted free agent list for centers, and it is grim. Like grim, right? Like Alexander Wenberg, good player, not as good as Lindholm. Chandler Stevenson, love the player, not defensively oriented like Lindholm is. Left-handed shooter, has done some of his best work on the wing or when he's playing on a line with Mark Stone. And then you get to like Max Domi, Jack Roslovic, and those guys are offensive guys. Those guys don't do what Lindholm does. And then really quickly, you're into like Bluger, Stenlund, Sam Carrick, the fourth line guys. So, I sort of look at this and think, man, among Vancouver's expiring players, Lindholm might be the single hardest to replace with the exception of Filip Hronek. And I can understand why the Canucks would have tried, why they would have been willing to pay a premium to keep Lindholm in the fold, given the virtual impossibility, short of a really aggressive move on the trade market, to find a player capable of bringing even 75% of what Lindholm brought to this lineup. So once again, this is one of those where my reaction, it's mixed, because on the one hand, I think extending a player Lindholm's age with his declining offensive production to a big ticket, I think there's an element to which that would have been a move that would have exceeded certainly my appetite for risk and maybe should have exceeded the Canucks' appetite for risk. And yet there's a big flashing red light now, a huge, difficult to execute assignment that's been dumped on the plates of Canucks management and hockey operations, which is find a replacement third line center who can kill penalties and bring, a lot of what this team benefited from having Lindholm in the lineup, because he was a significant part of what this team was able to do in the postseason.
Okay, Thomas, so let's shift over to how you could use Lindholm's money. And, Guentzel's name came up in the market yesterday, and, there's a guy that could solve a huge issue in the top six.
Yep.
For Pettersson. What are your thoughts on, it won't be cheap, but going out and getting a Guentzel?
I love Jake Guentzel. I think he's a star. I think he'd be an excellent fit. I think he's one of one among the free agents bound for the market. I mean, I guess Sam Reinhart, but no one really expects him to move teams. So Jake Guentzel should be every team's top target on July 1. He's that level of player. He's a game-changing player, a top-of-the-lineup star-level player, elevates his game when it matters, creative, defensively reliable, can hold up in a matchup role, can complement stars. I mean, he's not. There's no comparable in terms of play style, but I mean, this is like a premium version of what Zach Hyman was when the Oilers acquired him. There's grit there. There's defensive reliability. There's big game cojones, as it were. So yeah, I mean, if you can get Guentzel under contract, you pursue and try to get Guentzel under contract, especially given that this team's needs, as we've talked about, right? That they're not. We need a top six guy, right? They need a star winger. And Jake Guentzel's the only guy that matches that description, likely to shift teams on, without an acquisition cost aside from a contract this summer. So, yeah, I mean, that's a fire all weapons type opportunity should it arise.
Okay, the other one for you, Thomas, is Zadorov. I'm just not getting hearing any urgency with him. It was a week ago that, Dan Milstein got a little upset with some media in town. But since that week, I still quiet. Like, I'm just not, like I'm hearing, Dakota, Joshua, Myers, Bluger. You hear, talks with those guys. I'm just not hearing anything on Zadorov. Does that surprise you?
It surprises me that Dan Milstein got upset. What a gentleman. I'm shocked that he'd get upset with anybody in this market. No, I'm serious. Milstein, lovely guy. So Zadorov, to do the risks and rewards thing again, right? Zadorov's an interesting one for me too, because he's played 600 plus NHL games. He's always been like a 4-5 type defenseman. And then we saw in the playoffs, like playing up the lineup, I liked the look of it, right? He's also just awesome. We all know this, right? Giant guy, shoots hard, crushes people, gives good quotes, dresses to the nines. Like, everyone wants to see Zadorov in a Canucks jersey for many years to come, I think. The problem, of course, is that if he's going to get paid $5 million, which is, top pair defenseman territory, well, he hasn't been that, right? Like, he hasn't been that. You're relying on a 29-year-old playing at a level that he just hasn't regularly over the course of a 600-plus game NHL career to sort of meet that valuation. I still think there's a way, if the Canucks were motivated to try to make a sage or at least a more palatable bet on Zadorov. But I think it involves trading term to try and keep his cap hit in the $4 million range. I think if that was a possibility, then that's a bet that could work out, especially because, as we saw with Tyler Myers at the age of 34, right? Some of these bigger defensemen age a little bit more gradually than some of their smaller counterparts. So I'd love to see Zadorov stay. I think every Canucks fan would love to see Zadorov stay. There was a certain, personality and identity that it felt like he gave this team that would be, difficult to lose. But on the other hand, right, there are a lot of big defensemen in free agency, right? Whether it's Brendan Dillon, whether it's, you can pick 4 or 5 names off a list. There's options to replace him. And, I understand why the Canucks, especially if they're, gearing up to make a push for like a star level winger in free agency and outbid all other comers. I can understand why they'd look at Zadorov, given that they have Hughes and Soucy signed, and given that their needs are more on the right side of their defense core and up front, why they'd view that as a luxury item that they have to be really careful about spending on.
Delaney's OK Taryn Langley inbox. This is from Burton Poco. I severely twisted my ankle at the Canucks opening playoff game. Wonder if he was the guy.
Brutal.
I wonder if he was the guy climbing the statue. I missed 3 weeks of work, so Drance definitely isn't just playing it up. You've got people on your side out there, Thomas.
Okay, hold it. The Rangers just announced Adam Fox played the entire playoffs with a sprained MCL. How about that?
Put that in your pipe.
Yeah,
Put that in your pipe and spend. You can't drive a car?
I am not as tough as Adam Fox.
We know that.
This just in.
You do not have what it takes to play hurt in the playoffs.
It's like, why are you comparing my pain tolerance to that of a professional athlete, man? I am a schlub.
Yeah.
It's like,
hey, you said it. You said it.
Rick, breaking news. Adam Fox, also a faster runner than me. Can you believe it?
And skater.
Faster. Yeah. Oh,
Suck
no
it up.
question.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
But how does he drive? That's the big
how
question.
does he drive? How do you drive?
Thanks for this, Thomas.
He lives in Manhattan. I hope he takes the subway. Hey, cheers, boys. Thank you.